Gan Eden.
Good morning, Rabbi. Good morning, Rabbi.
Oh, you have to see Aaron's face. That's good. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today's 3 prakim Rambam, Hilchos, Rabbi Zajac, Ushmiras HaNefesh, prakim Hey, Vav, and Zion, beginning with Perek Hey. Perek Hey deals all about the golus, the exile, that someone who murders unintentionally must go. He must go to what we call to the Arei HaMiklat, or to in the singular, to the Ir HaMiklat, to a city of refuge, as we will learn in this chapter. Perek Chamishi has 14 halachas, beginning with halacha Aleph, says that Rambam. Kol hahoirik b'shgaga. Any person who kills unintentionally, goyla mimedina shaharigba, he has to go away, has to be exiled from. Medina means not the country, Medina means the city in where the act of murder, unintentional murder or manslaughter happened, and he must go la'arei miklat, to what we call cities of refuge, as we will learn more details in a moment. Umitzvas asay lahagloy. So there's a positive commandment to see to it that he goes to exile. Shenamar, as it says, a pasuk in Parshas Masei, that the Yashav Ba is the mitzvah, that he should sit there, he should dwell in these cities, in any one of those cities, ad mois hakohen hagadol, until the passing of the kohen gadol. V'huzaru Bezdin. Bezdin is forewarned that we may not take ransom money from this manslaughterer in order for him to be able to sit in a city and avoid going into Galus. As it says in the negative, also in Parshas Masei, in other words, don't accept the ransom, so he should not have to flee. He must run away over there. Halacha base. A couple of details. If the victim died immediately, that's when he has to run away there. But if he injured him, again, all of the whole concept of galus is only if whatever he did is unintentionally. If he wounded him unintentionally, even though they knew right away, Beis Din assessed that such a wound will lead to death. And indeed, v'chala and v'meis. Wow. Which means, guys, what did we learn in the last few days? Had that blow that this guy gave, had it been done intentionally, that's what we learned yesterday. Even though the victim didn't die right away, if amdu lemisa, right, they would put him into jail, and if the guy would die, he would be put to death. He would be put to death. So if it would have been mazed, the fact that there was a delay means nothing. But if the action was done b'shoigeg, ain't no goyla. That's the rule. He doesn't go into golos. Why? Why? Because Shema hu kedev es misas atzmai, maybe through the fact that this victim was moving around more than necessary, which could have led to the blood not properly congealing, for there to be a loss of energy, that also attributed to the passing. Or maybe that it was the air or the oxygen that entered the wound, and that together, of course, the blow was the main thing, but there was some other factor, and more than that, this concept that maybe there was another cause. Not that without that other cause he wouldn't have died. He would have died regardless. He would have died regardless. We're speaking about someone, even though who would have died regardless, there was something else that made the death come a bit quicker. The din of galus doesn't go to that place, which means a person, God forbid, even accidentally. All of this was done accidentally, unintentionally. Well, and we're going to find out later. We're going to define this a lot better. Cut off, he sliced both of these guys, the trachea and the esophagus, which means that this guy Vadai not only will die later, he'll die soon, just he didn't die yet. Va'amad ma'at, and this guy stood up. The fact that he stood up, that exertion brought about his death a moment quicker. Therefore, if we know that he did nothing that made the death come quicker, if he didn't move about, absolute nothing, he did nothing while he was alive. Or if he, God forbid, that there was no wind for you to say that maybe the wind went in there. What's such a place? A sealed marble home. The Gemara speaks about brain surgery. Imagine in the times of the Gemara, and they describe it always as it being done in a bias in a room made out of marble that's sealed. In this case, it's taka hareza goy. In other words, it's not that Rambam wants to emphasize. It's not that if there was a delay in the death, there's no goals. If there was a delay in the death, in where we can say that maybe, not vade, maybe the victim hastened his own death, then there's no din goals. Wow. Halacha Gimel. Now let's go to more details. A Yid, Yisrael, Shaharik Bishgaga, even if the victim was an Eved, this is all the Shoygik. An Eved is someone who's Makabal the mitzvahs. Or a Ger Toishav. Wow. A Ger Toishav. What did we learn yesterday? We learned yesterday, Chevra, that if someone murders, God forbid, a Ger Toishav bin Mezid, he won't be put to death in a Beis Din. Oh, God is going to seek vengeance. God will deal with him. But the shoygig, he'll go into goals. So we're learning already today a few halachas where shoygig and mezid don't travel on the same track. They're different. Or if an Eved killed Bishgaga, a Ger Toishav, listen to this now. A Ger Toishav that manslaughtered another Ger Toishav, or another Eved, what is the Rambam not writing? A Yid. We'll see that in Halacha Dal. Then he also goes into Golos. As it says, however, Halacha Daled, if a Ger Toishav accidentally, inadvertently, right, killed or manslaughtered the Yid, and we just learned in Halacha Gimel that in some cases a Ger Toishav goes into Golos. In this case, listen to these shocking words. Harei ze neherog. Wow. He's put to death because of the rule that a person is always forewarned, and just like we learned by Kabbalah, when it comes to Nezek, doesn't make a difference whether you did it b'shoygig, b'mezid, you chayiv to pay. Remember that by Nezek? Here, even for manslaughter, when it comes to taking a life, for a Ger Toishav, there's no difference. Well, he murdered the Ger Toishav. He thought that one is allowed to murder, which is very strange. Because how do you become a Ger Toishav? By being Makabal the Sheva mitzvahs. One of the 7 mitzvahs is not to murder. But if such a thing were to happen, why is it called Karev Lamezid? Now, what the Rambam introduced over here, and let's just become familiarized with the words. Mezid means on purpose. Yaron. Shoygig means inadvertently. But as we're going to go further in today's chapters, we're going to see that there is something called shoygig, which is karev lemezid. Shoygig, that's karev lo'oinus. And in neither of these cases, they're going to be goals. In our case, we're saying that since it's called karev lemezid, he's going to be put to death. V'goy shahareg as hagoy bishgaga. Because this whole concept of running away to a city of refuge is written, the Torah writes on Parshas Masei, Yisrael, which is excluding, this does not apply to non-Yid. Halacha. If a son kills his father, b'shoygig, God forbid, also goyla. And similarly, however, that the father goes into galus when he killed him, because he wounded, he did something to him, b'shoygig, but it wasn't while the father was teaching the son. Or the father was teaching the son a profession that the father was no longer obligated to teach. Every father is mechuyev to teach a son a profession from which the son can make a living. Once the son learned already such a profession, if the father now was teaching the son another profession, that is where we say that if during that teaching the father got frustrated, then he hit his son and the son died, he will go into goals because he wasn't doing a mitzvah. But if the father afflicted his child while he was teaching him Torah, or teaching him wisdom, or teaching him a profession, in all of these cases, the father will be exempted from going into golos. Terrible thing happened. No one is saying that the father should hit the child. But since while the father is teaching the son, he has reshus to hit him, therefore, It's excluded from the Parsha of Golus. Now, it's amazing that the Rambam doesn't only speak about Torah and profession. The Rambam says three things, guys: Torah, Chachma, and a profession. And it's good to think about that. Okay, weiter. Halacha vav. If a teacher strikes a student, or if a shliach beis din hits any litigant who is not wanting to come to the din, and therefore the shliach beis din has such a permit to go afflict him physically, and during that act, the guy died bishgaga. In other words, when a person is interacting with the other physically, beheted, if that led to involuntary death, there won't be a din of shoygig. Pturim and agolos. Sheneban, pasuk in Shoftim, that if the act of taking a life happened while he was chopping wood is divrei harashus, something that's not obligatory. And yatzu ha'ava makes benoi, or harav haredes talmidai, or shliach beis din, that is hitting someone who doesn't want to come. Shaharei shagagu v'hargu b'shas asiyas mitz. Halacha zayin. Batchila. Echad shoygig ve'echad meizid magdimin lo arei miklat. Right after an act of murder happened. In other words, whether it was done b'shoygig, whether it was done b'meizid, the murderer needs to know by Yidden, you took a life, right away run to the arei miklat. Now there were 6 major cities. There was really a total of another 42 cities where the Levium lived that also served as an arei miklat. So the Rambam is going to go about that later. So wherever those cities were, after an act of taking life happened, run away there.
Do we know the names?
Yeah, we're going to learn about it later. And they were divided exactly in the middle of Israel. That means that there shouldn't be one location where it should be all equally distributed. Now, who's going to judge whether it was done b'meizid, b'shoygig, b'oines? First, you run there. Beis din shall oisa ha'ir shaharagba. The city in where this terrible thing happened, that beis din is responsible to send people and to bring the murderer or the manslaughterer to the beis din, and he's judged. But you understand, it's not that he waits at home. We're not speaking about someone that we have a risk that he's going to run away. Sometimes you have to take him to jail. Stop. Everyone is trying to do the right thing. Took a life, run to the arei miklat. As it says in Shoftim, and this pasuk is they're taking him from the arei miklat prior to the trial. Now he's going to be tried. If he'll be chayav misa, he's going to be found that he did it b'meizid, then they'll kill him. And by the way, what did we learn yesterday, Yaakov? Who's going to take his life initially? The blood relative. As it says, v'nosnu oisa b'yad goyel hadam. Now, of course, like we learned yesterday, and if the goyel hadam is not available, or if the close relative says, I don't want to take his life, then beis din will take his life. Mishan iftar, whoever is completely going to be exempted, not everything is called a shoygig. Any shoygig that's close to a complete accident, you won't even go into exile. So then he's going to go home, and then he goes home. As it says in Masay, and if he's going to be found to have committed the act in that unusual window called shoygig, it's a very small window where you have to go into Golo. So then they're going to tell him you have to go into exile.
Sorry, but he's encouraged to run away so he doesn't get killed by the relatives, just in case.
That's correct. There's 2 dinim, Kevin. Number 1, once a person is found guilty in a beis din to have committed murder intentionally, the goyel hadam has a mitzvah to take his life. But prior to that, the goyel hadam doesn't have a mitzvah to take his life. But if the goyel hadam, which is the closest relative who will inherit from him, does take his life, the goyel hadam won't be taken to court. The goyel hadam will not be found guilty in court. So he has to understand that his life is in danger. And if he goes to the arei miklat, there no one can kill him.
Thank you.
As it says, now in the case where he has to go back, when he's returned there, beis din will send 2 scholars. A scholar, you have to know how to define it. These are people that if the goyel hadam will try to take vengeance on this murderer, Talmidei Chachamim are people that have the persuasion power and have enough of a respect. You need to have people to respect you that they'll calm him down. What's beautiful over here is that here in the Western world, if someone feels the life is in danger, who will they take with them? A bodyguard, a muscle man, right? A monkey, even a big gun. No, that's not the way we do it. We take a person, if you want to be protected, go with a Talmud Chacham. Because even the Goyal Hadam is not a Chayara. The Goyal Hadam is someone whose relative was murdered. But a Talmud Chacham has to be someone who will be able to converse with him to calm him down. It's beautiful. Not one, two. One my dear, two Talmidei Chachamim. He's in a stage. I love it. And what's to stop him? What does God say? Not someone who has more koyach. Not intimidation of power. Influence. Someone who will be able to influence him, that I understand that you're very angry. And you have the right, if he'll leave later, the Arei Mikvah to be, we know that. But Hashem does not want you to take his life. If you're going to take his life, the fact that you will be taken to court, God doesn't want you to do it. Beautiful. And v'oimrim lahem al tinhagu by minhag shoyf chidamim. No, the Talmidei Chachamim, what are they going to tell him? They're going to tell him, no. That b'shoygig b'maisel yodei. They tell him, your feelings are just. If this guy would have done it b'meizid, you can you can kill him. You're doing the right, but it wasn't b'meizid. They acknowledge his feelings. It's gewaltig. And if you can't do it, that means you're not a Talmud Chacham. That means a Talmud Chacham doesn't mean the greatest scholar. It means the greatest Yirah Shamayim. Someone who has fear of God, I think, will influence another to have more fear of God. It's the respect of God that's going to hold him back. Talmud Chacham. Hopefully. It has to come before, it has to come during, it has to come after. Halacha tes. If the Goyal Hadam, right, ended up taking the life of this manslaughterer, the Goyal Hadam will not be held guilty in court. Will be patur. Shenemar, as it says, v'loi ein mishpat mos. Which is taka why you have to. And by the way, the Goyal Hadam knows it. Even now, he's going back to the Arei Miklat. He cannot kill him according to the Rambam. That's what he's saying. The Chachamim are going to tell him, even though you'll get away with it, al tinag boy minhag. He was not. He did it by accident. Halacha yud. Whether he killed him prior to even getting there, or if he killed him clearly. Many people would have thought the guy did everything right. He manslaughtered. He ran to the Ir Miklat. He went to Beis Din. Beis Din is sending people to protect him. Doesn't that mean that he may not be killed? No. No matter when he did it, he'll be patur. But once he returned to any one of these cities of refuge, listen to this, and now he left wrongfully. He shouldn't have ever left there until the death of the Kohen Gadol. He opened himself up to be killed. Again, a shus doesn't mean a mitzvah, but the Goyal Hadam can kill him. However, another din ain't chayav and olav. Even if anyone killed him, how crazy is that? No one is allowed. If anyone killed him, they're not chayiv. Shenemar, as it says, ein lahem dam. That's if he left b'mezid. How come? But if he left the Irim Miklati b'shkada, kol hargoy, anyone who killed him, ben Goyal Hadam, ben shar adam, Goyal al yodoi. Goyal al yodoi, what does that mean? So I want you to tell you like this. Yakir, why doesn't it say is chayiv misa? So many people learn in the Rambam that when the Rambam is writing that if he left b'shoygeg, whoever kills him goes into Golus, that's if they killed him b'shoygeg. Right. But if they killed him amazing, they're taka chayiv misa. However, others understand in the Rambam didn't write that. That maybe the Rambam is writing even if they killed him b'mezid, they go into Golus. That's a machlokes in the Rambam. But in contrast, if he was killed inside the Ir Miklat, and another detail, we're going to learn all about this in the later chapters. The Tchum, there's the Ir, and then there's the Tchum. We'll learn about the 2,000 Amos. What we're speaking about is not just in the city and in the Tchum. If he was in, maybe not even in the city, but if he was in the Tchum of the city, Even if the Goyal Adam kills him, Nerag Olav. See, the fact that the Rambam doesn't write Shoigeg Umezid, it's more mashma, that no matter what, if he left B'Shoigeg Goyal Al Yadai, and if you killed him inside, then Nerag. Halacha Yud Beis. And if you killed him inside the city, Nerag Olav. Now, when Nerag Olav? Only if you did it B'Shoigeg. I'm sorry, B'Mezid. So I'm saying, that's why many people say that Rambam L'choira is speaking about B'Mezid. The question is why? Why, if he left B'Shoigeg and you kill him B'Mezid, why Goyal Al? Okay. Halacha Yud Beis. HaMizbeach Koilet. Now, Chavra, before you jump, it's not so simple. It sounds, wow. The Mizbeach Koilet means that it's a safe haven. It sounds almost like the Mizbeach is like a city of refuge. That Rambam really limits it. It's not that way. But the words are that the Mizbeach protects you. It says regarding someone who killed Bizadoin, the Mizbechi Tekachen Olamos. Mizbechi means that since the guy killed B'Mezid, take him off the altar to met out justice, which is mashma, that if he only killed B'Shoigeg and he's by the altar, you don't remove him from the altar. If someone manslaughtered B'Shoigeg and then he took refuge at the altar, we're going to go into details in a moment. What does it mean at the altar? And the harag isham goyel adam, then hadei zenere golov. Now that we established in Allah Yudalat that while he is in the Ira Miklat and you kill him, you're not doing a mitzvah, you're not doing a rishos, you're chayiv misa if you did it b'meisa. Same thing is on the altar. When you hear this, I remember learning these dinim, it sounds very broad. It's like the Ira Miklat. The Rambam is going to really limit it. Halacha Yud Gimel says nish. Ein koilet ella. First of all, not any part of the altar. If he's touching the side of the altar, he has to be only on the roof, on the top of the altar. Means 9 amas up. Ein koilet ella gadosh hamizbeach. Number 2, yakir only of the Beis Olam. That's a big statement. That means that even though the Mishkan Shilai stood for 369 years, and it wasn't even called a bama, it was called a mizbeach because the Aron Kodesh was there. That's the definition. Heter bamais was when the Aron Kodesh was not in Mishkan. Isur bamais is more permanent. That's because the Aron Kodesh was in there. That's the way we'll learn pshat. It doesn't make a difference. It's only in the Beis HaMikdash, and here's the key: only a kohen, and only while the kohen is doing avodah. So when you have these mishnayos, hamizbeach kohelet, it's a very limited in. The Rambam later will broaden it a little bit. But one second, that's number 1. Avol zod, the image. Only a kohen. Avol zod, if a guy's a non-kohen, or even if he's a kohen, she'eino oved avodah b'shashen erag. Imagine. In other words, he went on the altar to do avodah. So let's say this guy had this chus of putting a limb on the fire. So the Goyal Adam ran up there in anger. He all he needs to do is wait for him to finish putting the limb, boom. And then he'll get it, and then he's Goyal Adam. He'll get away with it. But al gagoy, only near the Mizbeach. And you know what near the Mizbeach means? Not only down, even if he was holding onto the horns, but if his feet were not on the gag, means he was on the top but not standing on the floor of the top, ain't a niklet. So first of all, the Rambam limits it, but now he's going to broaden it. Halacha Yudaleh, the final halacha of this chapter, Chol Misha Kolatim Mizbeach. You know that even the kohen that's over there, he's doing the avodah, ain't manichanais shalom. You don't. The guy says, "Let me give me work." No, Moisen and Shoimrim. Again, the Shoimrim, very importantly, the Shoimrim. If the Shoimrim were not successful, the Goyal Hadam will get away with murder. But the Shoimrim are people that will be able to inspire the Goyal Hadam. Now, all of these limitations that are huge. If you were to stop over here, the whole Adin Mizbeach Koilet becomes so almost never practical. The Rambam says, no. When do we limit it? It's only Gagoy and only a coin. Only is doing Gavoida, the Mechuyev Galus. If someone they know. What's that like? The Mechuyev Galus. Aval, there's another thing. And that is Misha Pachat Min HaMelech. Shelo Yahargenu B'Din Malchus. Oy B'Meizin Shelo Yargu B'Yirah Hashem. a melech has the right, civil law, sometimes to take a life for the better of the society. We even learned that Beis Din, especially by murder, even if the accused was not found guilty according to the high standards of testimony and they have to be interrogated, but if Beis Din knows, okay, they didn't pass the Vedikas, but this guy, Beis Din has to kill him. And that guy can seek refuge also by the Mizbeach. Not only on the Mizbeach, but even near it, even the Nismach Loi, not on the Gag. Means he has to be near the altar. And even if he's a non-Kohen, Harei Zenitzel, and there is a application of Hamizbeach Koila that's very broad. Means if a person is not being put to death by Beis Din, even though he's being put to death by Beis Din, but it's not based on the normal Din Torah. He's being put to death by an extraordinary rule or by any civil law. That is okay. And we have the right to create a civil law to take life. Like you have in this country, there's civil law that sometimes a person in some states will be put to death. That person can go to the altar, doesn't have to go to the top of the altar. He has to be near the altar, probably touching the altar, and you cannot take him from there. Elam came, this chayiv, misas, based in be'edus gemur of asra, kishar kol arugi based in tamid, then it won't help. So we have like this: someone who killed b'mezid, he can be near the mizbeach, it's garnishment, nothing. The goyel adam can kill him there. Someone who killed b'shoigeg, who while he's in the city of refuge cannot be killed by the goyel adam. Such a person, if he's a kohen and doing the avodah on the gag of the mizbeach, that's like a ir mikvah. And someone who's being sentenced to death by a Yehoirah or by civil law, they can always go to the altar and nothing may be done to them and you don't remove them from there. That's a safe zone, safe house.
The whole idea of being near the Mizbeach is similar to the idea of being connected to Torah mitzvahs.
Shkoyach, okay, you're back. Exactly. That we're protected. No, it's we're chayiv misa. When we feel it, when we're close to Yiddishkeit, we're safe.
But that guy that's being chased by the king,
yeah.
If he went to a regular mikvah, that's not going to save him because the king.
Danny is saying a good point of it before we go on. That the ir miklot only saves the din of hoidig nefesh b'shgaga. If a king paskins that someone has to be put to death, but ir miklot is not koilet. Fakir. That's a unique. That the mizbeach is not like a ir miklot. The mizbeach is a unique din.
Why would a king do that? Just anybody stand?
No. There are times in societies that you have to punish someone. Okay, halacha pedik shishi, guys. Now, like we mentioned, there's mezid shoygig. On purpose and unintentional, but it's not so pashut. We're going to have to define it. And what we're going to basically have is there's a shoygig that's cut of lemezid, not included in Parshas Ori Miklot, and there's a shoygig that's not even barely a shoygig. It's closer to an oinus. An oinus means a freak accident for which there also won't be Ori Miklot. So really we have mezid, we have shoygig cut of lemezid, shoygig cut of leoinus and oinus. I know I mentioned 5, the Rambam is going to mention 3 because mezid and oinus we're not talking about. Mezid means on purpose, chayiv misa theoretically. Oinus means it was a freak accident. We're going to get examples. We're not talking about that. Even in shoygig, Pedig Shishi has 15 halachas, huh?
Always a freak accident.
Well, let's go learn. No, freak accident is not golos. Is not golos. Shoygig means unintentional. And even in unintentional, the Rambam writes halacha aleph shloishehem ha'orgim v'lo kavana. There are 3 categories of shoygig. There are 3 categories of unintentional killers. And as the Rambam will say, and not all of them go into golos. So halacha base. This is category number 1. Yesh hoidig bishgaga. It was done unintentional, but it's more than unintentional. We're going to say v'ha'alama gemura. This guy had absolutely no clue of the consequences of his actions. Regarding this, you don't know the consequences. Shoygig, Ba'asher Loitzadam, who did not lay an ambush. Someone was not laying an ambush to hurt. Forget about to kill the other. In other words, you did something, you had no idea that your action will lead to murder. There is where we say you go into goals. And while you are in the Adi Miklat, you are protected from the Goyal Adam, as we learned in the previous chapter. However, this category number one will become clearer when we say the other two categories that are more than Shoigig or less than Shoigig. But the halacha will define that hashgaga kareiv lo'emes. It resembles something that was completely caused by forces beyond your control. V'hu sheyera b'misa zeh mo'eda pella, that when someone witnesses what happened, I mean, someone did something without intent to kill b'chlal. But even what they did, that it brought about death, people, they say, wow, that was like an extraordinary occurrence. I never saw something like that. In such a case, we'll give examples for everything, don't worry. He doesn't even have to go into Golus. And once a Yid does not have to go into Golus, if the Goyal Adam killed him, it's Chayv Mesef. And number halacha Daled, which is now number 3, the Yesh Chaydik Bishgaga. Someone did an act that it was unintentional. But nevertheless, we're going to consider it an act. It looks like it's close to it being an intentional. We'll give examples for everything. There's something that resembles. It's similar to a purposeful act. There was something that everyone knew you have to take care, and the guy didn't take care. So Taki, you can say the guy didn't want to kill. But there was negligence in the security. And here also the din she'eino goyla. Eino goyla, because the sin is graver. God only gives a certain type of punishment if that atones. If the sin is more serious, that is not enough to bring about kapara. The Gemara says, "Ein kapara lamechza." Either get atonement or leave it in the hands of God. And in such a case, listen to these shocking words. What does B'chol Makim means? If this guy runs Danny to an Ari Miklat and the Goyal Hadam kills him in the Ari Miklat, the Goyal Hadam is potter. No, it's not pshat. In the Shoigig HaKarav Lo'oines, Karav Lo'oines means it's lesser than Shoigig. He may not be killed. Once you kill the Shoigig, the Goyal Adam is allowed to kill you. The Mezid, the Goyal Adam has a mitzvah to kill you. The Shoigig Goyal is allowed to kill you. In category number 3, since it's Shoigig plus, the Goyal Adam has the right to kill you. Pshat is that the Ari Miklat won't help. So this guy's in trouble. This guy is in trouble. So what should he do? He should not be killed. The guy has to his whole life live like the way people live today in the big cities, in the Western world, filled with retzach, filled with here you have to protect yourself. Put up a fence and get a gun and get a dog. I'm saying, what can you do? You're living in a dangerous place. Be aware that some people here, it's lawless. So this guy was mufkar to be killed by the Goyal Adam. Another case. There's one witness that they murdered, not to weigh them. Or there's 2 people that witnessed it, but they were not given a halachic hasra. What do you think the halacha is? Well, you think this guy's off the hook? So if a hoidik b'loy kavana outside the Ari Miklat to Goyal Adam yesh reshus, what, this guy is better? In other words, we're not advocating vigilanteism. But if murder is involved, shoigeg or more serious, the Goyal Hadam will not be held guilty in court. That's what God says. Let's go back. Now let's give Mishalom. And the Rambam goes on to say, so in Halacha Gimel, he spoke about shoigeg hakarav lo'omes. What does that mean? The guy threw a stone into the Reshus Harabim. I'm sorry, this is going to be Karav Lamezid. This is Karav Lamezid first. In other words, you did something, when you throw a stone into a public place, a guy lives in a big apartment building and they throw something out of the window and it's going on a sidewalk, a public sidewalk. Did they intend to kill? No. But they did something very dangerous. That's you can't say shoigeg. Even though there was no intention to kill, you can't do that. Very good. Oh yeah, so he said a guy demolished this wall inside the Rishus Harabim, and one of the stones killed a person. And this is whether he did it by day, whether he did it by night. That's called Karav Lamezit. Makes so much sense. It's not a Mazit, guys. Mazit means, just a Mazit means he intended to kill. He did not intend to kill. He intended to clear something out of his apartment. He just didn't want the sofa there. But you have no right to throw it on the sidewalk. He should have looked to make sure no one is there and then throw it and then demolish the wall. Now, let's go into other details. If a person demolished something right onto a garbage heap at night, what's the garbage heap at night? There were many garbage heaps that were used for dual purpose. It's used for people to throw the garbage. People threw, no one sat in it, but also there was no public bathrooms. At night, we'll see, day, night, sometimes the public garbage heap was also a place upon which if someone needed to relieve themselves, they went to relieve themselves. Any place that people are there to relieve themselves, throwing something there is the cut of Lamezit. You know how to do that. Okay. Like we said, at night, people at night, imagine people wanted privacy. At night, it's dark. Anyways, it's a dirty area. That's the way it worked. That's a cut of Lamezit, the Ein Nikla. But if that's no one relieves himself on this garbage heap, then we say the opposite. Also not shaykh means if I throw a stone on a garbage heap, it's meant to throw garbage. I threw garbage there, heavy garbage, in a place where people normally do not relieve themselves. That's not even a shaykh. Boom, the guy was there. It's a freak act. It almost like an oinus. That's a cut of. That's the first example. Upatim and agolos. And not only patim and agolos, but the beautiful thing is like the Rambam writes in Allah Gimel that if the Goyal Adam killed him, the Goyal Adam is going to be chayiv. Chayiv means. And it happened that by day someone happened to be sitting there. The naflo all of Evan b'shas tir of amaze hadei a goylo. That's already exactly what a shoygig is. Understand? If no one ever goes there, it's cut of lo'inus. No one ever goes there. If it's a place that people go there at night, they don't go there by day, and you threw something there by day, that's already a shoygig. It's not cut of lo'inus. Because you know that at night, these examples are very important, and you have to have big rabbanim when cases happen to take these examples of Chazal and to get to the heart of it, and then to know what you could apply to, what you cannot apply to. This is exactly the middle. This is the shoygig. Amazing. Think about it. You have to sit with this. Now, guys, let me look at this case. A guy throws a stone. When he threw a stone, right, I'm demolishing my wall. I'm demolishing my wall. Stones are flying into the public sidewalk. After the stone is already in flight, then a person went in the trajectory of the stone. Bazev Yashav, the stone is in flight. Now a guy sits where it's going to land. And we'll see in the next halacha why. Similarly, the guy throws a stone. Again, after the stone leaves his hand, the other guy sticks out his head in the path. The kibbutz of amaze. So normally, if a person throws a stone, let's go to the case of halacha ches, the last case, goyla. There's a case of goyla. There's a case of shoygig. But that's only if the guy was sitting and relieving himself, and then you threw the stone there. Not over here. It says in Shoftim, umatza esreyeyu. That let's speak about the stone. The stone finds this fellow. Like who's finding who? Finding your fellow means the fellow was there first, and the stone found the fellow. If the stone was in flight first, and then the fellow came, the fellow found the stone. Now let's
question.
Go
When
ahead.
it says patur min hagalot, what does that mean? He's not liable for anything, or
I would say that it's cut of lo'inus. Very good. Cut of lo'inus. Patur min hagalot very good. Means that the goyel adam cannot kill him. Cannot kill him. Halacha 10. Now hasoyna sharek mishgaga. How amazing, huh? I didn't intend to kill you, but we're enemies. Ein niklat. The other miklat won't help. As it says, the Torah writes explicitly that he's not the victim's enemy. Because, now 1 second, like Kevin, the Rambam is asking your question. So what does it mean, ein niklat? It means that he's free or he's in danger. He's in danger his whole life. The goy ladam is allowed to kill him. Well, yeah, he'll get away by killing him. Cheskasai shehu karav lamezid. How do you define a soina? If they're enemies, that they cannot talk to each other for 3 days. Soina, an enemy. The guy has a bad marriage, and that's the way they interact with each other. When they're upset, they just don't talk to each other. It's called the soina. And your enemy, God forbid, wants to be an enemy of the spouse or of any other yid. If a person puts someone else into a corner, oh, no. It means, guys, when you need a picture. When you're coming in an intersection, if I'm walking with a knife sticking out, I'm going to see the people that are coming towards me. But if I'm coming to an intersection, which is the whole yashikar to the mirror that they put here in the alley, what's the problem? You mamish don't see who's coming from the side. I'm walking with a stick, and someone, minatzan means someone comes perpendicular, you are unable to see him. And maybe some Now, you know what we say? Are you a shoygig? You're not a shoygig. You're cut of lamezid. You're not amazing. Don't walk that way. You know that someone might be coming and you won't even be able to see them. How can you walk with a knife that way? Or you push a person with your body. You should have been more careful. Or you intended to throw something for 2 amas and it landed 4 amas. We already learned yesterday. It killed 4 amas. You didn't intend even to throw it that far. But why are you throwing stuff? We learned that yesterday. We learned that in such a case, you will not be held liable in court. But you know what? The Goy Ladam can kill you always. And the Ari Miklat won't even protect you. I feel in the Schavel Laharig Agoya Behem and Yisrael, call Elu Kerevim Lamezid, the Enam Niklatim, and they're in perpetual trouble. How many people know this? People know the Shoygeg Mezid, this din that if Karev Lamezid, Ari Miklat won't even help. Halacha Yudal, Hanichnas, yeah, for your whole life. Even inside the Ari Miklat, there's nothing you can do. Halacha Yudal, Hanichnas Lachatzar Balabai Shaloi B'Rishus. And now, guys, the Balabas kills the intruder. We're not speaking about the case, guys, Hababa Machteres. Then the Balabai says Chayiv to kill the intruder. If someone was in someone else's domain, and that someone else, the Balabais, killed him, the rule is Patim and Agolus. The whole case of Golus is the Asher Yava Yesreyehu. He encounters his friend weird. The Torah gives an example of a forest, meaning not in his own domain. It's open for everyone. And Lefikoch. A nagar is a carpenter. If you don't have permission to go into his work office, his workplace, the nitzah bakas the tafchle upon a mace. If no one had permission to be there, the carpenter is doing stuff. Things are flying all over the place, and a piece of wood, a block of wood, struck him and God forbid killed him. Patamigolos. Patamigolos means it's cut of lo'oinus. It's cut of lo'oinus. You never kill him. But that will be a case. That's the case. The guy had permission to be there. The Nagar had no intention to kill anyone. If something flew off his wood, a shtickle, and killed him, he'll take a bichayv goals. And now we're going to go into details. If a person is drawing a barrel, a jug, to bring it up to the roof, guys, and while it's going up, the nifsak hachevel, the bucket got detached and it fell on someone else and it killed it. That means the person was moving the bucket up. The bucket went in the opposite direction. Or if a person is going up a ladder, and as he's going up, he slips and he falls on someone else. He's also patim in agolus. It's kared lo'oines. Shezek kemoy oines. However, if he's lowering a chavius, he's lowering it and it slips or it breaks, but it was already on the way down. You get it, guys? That's going to be the case of Golus. That's the case of Shoigig. The Nafla al Chaveri v'Haragasu, Or if the person was going down a ladder, tripped, and on the way down he fell. Or another example that Rambam gives, and that's where we have a picture. You have a certain ma'agela. Ma'agela is some sort of instrument that people would use to smooth out the tar on the roof. And why? So you're working on the roof, you're smoothing out cement, and that instrument, while you're smoothing it out, falls down. The nafla, it fell on chaveroi. That is where you're going to go.
So going into Golas is actually a better result.
Sure.
So why?
Well, one second. If it's kind of lo'inus, which is in the cases over here, no, then the guy's completely scot-free. Just like oinus, you're scot-free. Kind of lo'inus, you're scot-free. Shenemar, as it says, vayapel olav vayomois, which means acha yipal, when it was already derech nefila. Shaharei derech nefila matzi b'Rabbi Idam lahezik. V'konev adovel hu liyos. Shaharei teva hakoyvet later lemata memehero. It's when you are already in a downward motion. That is where there's a certain expectation for you to be careful, more careful, even though it's completely shoygig, going to go. When you were walking up, you're going in a whole different direction. You slip down, and we're going to get into a few words later. I'm going to say the words right now. I can't contain myself. When you're slipping on the way up, when did you slip? When you put your foot down. When you put your foot down, and the rung broke, you fell down. So how are you going up? You fell when you were going down. That's where you find this in Nigla, here, in this den. If when you're going up, it's kind of lo'inus. Going up doesn't only mean when you're in the upward moment, but it means if you're going up, even if the act of falling happened when you did an action of going down. To go up, you have to step down. So if I'm going down and stepping down and slipping and God forbid killing, that's goals. If you're derech aliyah, even if it happened at a moment of yeridah, tzayirach aliyah.
But you're going only aliyah.
I'm saying even Yeridah Tzayirach Aliyah, it's kind of lo'inus. Now we got the source. It's so good. We have certain phrases that Chabad Hasidus quotes the whole time. It's good to know where it came from. I'm sure it gives a lot of insight in the Hasidic meaning also. Obviously. Because you were on the way down. Now we're going to get into more details. Now here, Kevin, if you can put the pictures that we have in the Rabbi Avin Yisrael, it's amazing. All we want to make sure is we're speaking about up or down. Now I'll do it over here. When a person is picking up a cleaver, which is what a butcher does. So he says if while he picks up the cleaver, some part of the instrument detaches, flies, and God forbid kills someone, you don't even go into goals. That's what we're learning. Derech aliyah. If when you're bringing it down, but think about it, the Rambam says, when I'm picking something up, so until it reaches the height, it's going up. But what happens if I put it behind my head or behind my shoulder? That's called going up. That's b'chlal called going up. Now, on the opposite, when we're saying going down, now, of course, once it hits the top and it's going down, it's going down. But what happens if it's all the way behind my shoulder? The beginning movement of down, that's called aliyah, Tzayirach Yerida. Also called Yerida.
Sometimes you feel like you're going down, but you really
Not that's the whole beauty. No, we have to know what is the bigger picture. You have to see that's Allah. You look at the bigger picture.
Why is there a difference with the cleaver? I don't really understand.
In both cases, whenever a person's mind, psyche, is in the movement of down, since everyone knows that when you're going down with gravity, if I'm going to lose control going down, that thing is dangerous. It's shoygig. It's not amazing. That's the shoygig. Once I finish speaking, I'm going to answer your question. When something slipped out of his hand or something flew out of it, sometimes it breaks.
So if the blade flew off the handle,
very good.
That's what we're talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's not called a lo'inus?
No. If it's on the way down, it's called shoygig. If it's on the way up, it's called cut of lo'inus. Yeah. So if a butcher is cutting a piece of flesh, and he has the cleaver, and he's picking it up. Now, why does he pick it up? Picks it up to get the momentum to be able to go back down. The way all of the katzavs do. So like this. Halacha means when he's drawing the cleaver back. Drawing the cleaver back, that Rambam wants to emphasize, doesn't only mean when it's physically going up. Even when it's already over his shoulder and it's going back. It's not called going back. It's still called halacha. Shehi hagba milafanav and v'yirida ma'achaydav. Ein hagoy la'alav. That's called karav la'inus. But in the other direction, b'chol sheyamas b'chazara. B'chol means even the beginning part. The beginning part is, I'm still going up. No, that's called aliyah. It's called the yerida. It's aliyah tzarech yerida. She aliyah ma'achra v'yirida la'fanav goyla. Z'aklal kol shubederech yiridasoi, kol shubederech yiridasoi. Even the aliyah l'tzarech yerida. That's called yerida, goyla. Shubederech yiridasoi, ain't a goyla. Afila v'yiridasoi, shitzarech aliyah. You see the words? Here you go, ain't a goyla. What does it mean? Yerida tzarech aliyah gives an example. You're going up a ladder. Like I mentioned, when you're going up a ladder, if I'm going up, I'm karav la'inus. But the kasha is 1 second. I don't slip going up. I slip because when I press down on the rung, when I press down, isn't my foot going down? When you're going up a ladder, there are moments where you're going down. You're putting, that's called yerida tzarech aliyah. The nishman ha'shilva mitachas eminot ha'misa poter min ha'golos. Chazak. V'chein ha'mischaven l'zek b'tzad zeh. Another whole case, guys. We're speaking about other cases where it's karav la'inus. It's a new topic. A person wanted to throw something there. Something slipped and it went over there. It's like when I play with my kids' ball. I don't know why. I try to throw the ball to them, and the ball goes over there.
I'll go bowling with you.
Not by bowling, which is Merkulis. Okay. That's called karav la'inus. If I would know, in other words, I'm aiming there. I didn't want to kill anyone, but at least I aimed there. Here, I didn't even aim there. Slipped and it went in another direction. It's similar because you're going up and you're falling down. You're going in a different direction. Another karav la'inus. There was some heavy thing on your lap. You never knew it was there. You never knew it was there. Not you forgot. And then when you stood up, it fell on a child. God forbid. That's called karav la'inus. Or a blind person that killed b'shoigeg. A blind person is always karav la'inus. Kol ha'p'turim goes b'nei shem karav la'inus. Final halach. In contrast, if there was a stone on your lap, and for one moment you knew, and then you forgot, and in your state of forgetfulness you stood up, and Achman al-Islam, the stone fell and killed someone. That's called a shoigeg. It's called a shoigeg. You're not karav la'mezid. It's not karav la'inus because you once knew. When the Torah says, Dishgaga means, where do we have this expression? If you remember by Shavuos, if you remember by Tumas Mikdash Ukadashav, V'nelam, sometimes when the Torah says you forgot, from that we learned that you needed to know first and then to forget. Now, Nishmat HaBarzal Mikate V'harag, if the iron slips off the axe, Harei Zagoyla. But Nishmat HaBarzal Mina Eitz HaMizbakeya. If another din, now final din, guys. If derech yerida, right, Danny? If it falls out of my hand and it kills someone, that's golus. What happens if I hit the tree? And because of my makkah on the tree, a piece of the tree now flies out. That's called koyach koychay. In other words, I'm the cause, knocking the tree. The piece of splinter flying out of the tree is called the effect. If the effect killed one, you also don't go into golus. Ain't a goy. And that is like an oinus.
It doesn't fit with
everything fits.
Where we learned that when you throw something out of the window, it's the same idea pretty much.
No, throw it out of the window. That's called my koyach. That's called my koyach.
You're also the one that.
My hammer is my koyach. This is the final is a new thing. My hammer didn't kill anyone. What I threw, what I moved did nothing. What I threw knocked something, and that something now flew. He's just giving a typical example. You have these date palms. How do you take down the dates? What do you think? So one of the things they would do is they would shake it here. They would throw stuff. They threw something to knock it, and the nafal hatmaram alatina, God forbid, and the tamar killed someone. Potter. The place shehein boim bikoyach koychay. So it's something that was generated by your force, but it's not directly your force. Now, today's final chapter, now we're going to learn more details about when will the person finish, complete their sentence of Golus. And as we all know, the general concept, Ad Mois Kohen HaGadol, and we're gonna learn scenarios like what would happen if at a certain point there was never a Kohen Gadol. What now? And even though a Kohen Gadol was appointed later, some people can never be free. We're gonna learn that it doesn't only mean to be there while you were alive, but Ad Mois Kohen HaGadol means that if the Chodesh Bishgaga passed away, he has to be buried in the Ir Miklat, even though the people that live there may never be buried. As we'll see more pratim in this chapter has 15 halachas, beginning with halacha aleph.
We're going to talk more about also what an Arvita is.
Yeah. That's later. We're almost there. Guys, just know the siyum will be on Shabbos. We'll make a siyum here on Shabbos for this. And not just see it, this is a siyum of the whole Sefer Nezukim. I mean, Sunday we're beginning already Sefer, I think Sefer King is the next Sefer. Halacha aleph. Talmud shegala le'ir miklat. The Rebbe spoke about this so often. Megalin Rabbi Imoy. Why? Because since it says V'choi, guys, this happens to be a pasuk in Parshas Voschanan. In other words, he goes to the Ir Miklat to live. A Talmud has no life without his Rebbe. How beautiful! Pasuk goes on Parshas Shoftim. Asei loy kedei sheyichya. In other words, you have to provide everything necessary for this Chodesh Bishgaga for him to live. So the kasha is, Chevra, we are in Golus. The Eibishter is chayiv to give us a living Rebbe. The Rebbe has to come back.
That's what the Rebbein went to the person.
Talmud Shegola, Megalan Rabbi Imoy. And since v'chaye bal chachma u'mevakshei b'loi Talmud is kenisa chashuva, so you can't tell a Yid go into Golus without your Rebbe. And by the way, it's a two-way street. If the Rav killed someone b'shoigig and the Rav has to go into Golus, a Rav has no life if he doesn't have Talmidim to teach. Also no life. Megalin yeshivasa imoy. How beautiful is that?
That's the learning in Mekila, everybody. Any יכולה להתקיים בלא הסתרה בתלמיד של יושבים לומדים תורה.
That's right.
Yes, it's part of it.
Very good. Halacha base. If a slave goes there, even though his work still goes to his Rebbe. So we're going to have to learn Hilchas Avadim, but you have a din that people, when they hear it the first time, they don't like it, but that's the way it is. That a master of an Evet Kanani has the right not to give any mezoinus to his Evet Kanani. Because when you live amongst a Jewish settlement, and Jews, Yidden, are mechuyev to support people that need food, this is an achzer of a Rav. But he's allowed to say, your work belongs to me, I don't have to provide food, go door knocking, and everyone is going to help you. So since the obligation of the Rav to feed the Eved is not necessary for the Rav to have the rights in the work of the Eved, even though the Eved is far away, and the Rav is giving nothing to him, he's in a different city, he can still demand his work. Now, in contrast, Isha should go lost le'ir miklat, balachayv lazuna. He's obligated to give her mazonis, and he's not allowed to tell her, you know what? You keep your own mazonis, masi yodayich, keep your own work, and I'm not going to give you. He cannot do that. If she indeed is able to support herself, then the husband is allowed to say. But if, as it was then, that women did not earn, there was no equal fair pay, and many times a woman can work and she cannot provide for herself, so then the husband is not allowed her, not be mazan her. That's one of the obligations of a husband. And Masha'enke and a Rav to an Eved cannot give any mezonos.
Why is the husband not supposed to go join her?
So what Kavan is saying is that if they have a good marriage, then the husband has to join her. If they don't have a good marriage, she can say, the Torah says I should go here to live. I can't live with you. Depends on the relationship. Sometimes means stay away from your wife. Let her live. God forbid. In other words, the guy killed B'shoigig. And they paskin. However, this guy, before he ever went, so normally, like a person is chayv chatos. I'll give you an example. He's chayv chatos. He already separated this chatos. He passes away. What did we learn? His heirs don't bring the chatos. They're not allowed to bring the chatos. It's one of the chatois hameses. Why? Because death brings about kapara. The en kapara la'achar misa. We don't say this over here. Even though he passed away, he has to go into Golus. Is not living, bury him there. And they might, but it's and similarly, if you already went there, but now he passed away, but not forever, not forever.
But what if he died in Yerushalayim? You have to do it right away. You have no time to travel.
No, they move him out. Even today, they bury right away if the person is if the corpse is in Yerushalayim. Whenever sometimes they take the body out of Yerushalayim and then they don't bury right away. Okay, and just to appreciate that no one is allowed to be buried there. That's the only exception. The other Levium that live there, they live in the Arei Miklat. If one of them passes away, they're not allowed to be buried be'ir. They're not even allowed to be buried in the Tchum that we'll learn about around the city, because when the Torah says Migdashayim means the open spaces, which is the Tchum that has to be left open. Should be lebehemtam ulerechusham, and for all of the livestock, we learn pshat, not only livestock, for living beings. So that means that after the Kohen Gadol dies, they have to disinter him, or they have to take him out and bury him. That was the norm. People were buried. They were buried for 1 year, which is the norm time for all of the body to decompose. And after the year, on the first yard side, they would dig up the bones. They would gather the bones and bury the bones with the bones of their ancestors.
So nobody was buried permanently in these.
Very good.
Make that a temporary situation.
Is it sad?
Is it sad for the corpse? Well, that's why people used to fast on that day. There was a short-term tzad for a long-term goal. The concept of people wanting to be buried with their forefathers is something that you find throughout. Many people buy a mokim near their parents. Not America, everyone has issues with their parents. You want to be buried with your parents. That's where you came from. Look at the others, they were all buried together. Elamad, they never buried a person then fresh with their forefathers. So there would be a family plot of bones, and now they would gather the bones. It means when there was a skeleton, they didn't keep the forms. Malaka, that's nice. They made liquor was a normal thing then. Hey, think about this. A guy never killed once. He was sentenced. He's in the Ir Miklat, and in the Ir Miklat, Nachamo. So now you can't say go to another Arei Miklat. Why not? Because the Goyal Adam of the first can kill you on the way. But you have to go into Golus. So how do you go into Golus? You don't leave the boundaries of the city, but you have to change neighborhoods in the Arei Miklat. But the Eina Yotzim in it. Now, Ben Levi that killed in his city, he doesn't change neighborhoods because you have to go into Golus. He has to go. Even though it's not your familiar place. Part of Golus is you're going to a place in which you're not familiar with. Now, it's amazing. If the Levi lives in the city, he happened to do this manslaughter outside the city. He is allowed to return to a city. Wow. Even though it's not really Golus, but he's protected there as a safe haven. Halacha about Ir Miklot, and other than if the Ir Miklot becomes Roiv Ratzchanim, no longer is a safe haven. Because since it says, guys, this is a pasuk in Yehoshua. The pasuk is speaking about Rabbi Zajac that was sent to an Ar Miklot, that he has to stand in front of the elders of the city and he has to tell everyone why he's there. He has to say, and it says over there, he asked the Varov. In other words, he's speaking to people that are not like him. If the Roiv of the city also are there, B'shoigeg, then he's speaking to people that are like him. If a Chain Ir that Bechlal don't have Dayanim, the Zakenim means Dayanim, Eina Koiletes, because it says Zikni Erehi. So in other words, you get to run to any Arei Miklat. It could be that the Arei Miklat, once you know the numbers, if you're moving there, will make now the numbers of the inhabitants to be Rubam, Ratzchanim, you ruined it for everyone. They don't allow him to go there. And if he is there at that moment, the Goyal Adam can kill everyone there. Can kill the one who murdered their relative. First he has to tell them if they tell him Afal Pikain, then Mekabel Mehem. Allah echas. Hagoyla, he may never leave, even to Advar Mitzvah, even to testimony. Not only, you can say it's only monetary, not only not to Eidus Mammon, not even to Eidus Nefashos. No, he cannot leave to testify against someone, I get it. But if someone is going to be put to death, your testimony is the only opportunity for that guy to be saved in a basin. You're not allowed to go there. You're not allowed to go there. It's not if you go there, the Goyal Hadam will kill you. The Torah says, stay there until the Kohen Gadol dies. Guys, there are troops. No, there are goyim, and you can save. You can save. You're not allowed to leave. Miyad Hanor, Miyad Adleika. There's a fire. There's an avalanche. Because you are as strong as Yoav ben Seruya. He was so strong that if we would have placed him outside the world, he would have lifted the whole world. And the only guy that can save. So there's two dinim. You're not allowed to leave. On top of that, if you left, you should know Yoav ben Seruya, no one can kill him without tricking him. It's not about to be protected. Aside of you being protected, the guy says, I'm strong. I can protect myself. And as we learned in the last chapter, Shoge Karav Lamezid has to do that. He's open to be killed by the Goyal Adam, so he has to live the way you live over here.
These guys can never be Pesach.
No? Very good. These guys can never bring a Korban Pesach. Very good point. He never leave. There's never made until Mois Kohen Gadol. Now, who's the Kohen Gadol? So there's many Kohen Gadol. There's many different Kohen Gadols. So Allah Hanai. Echad Kohen Gadol HaMashuach, the Sheman HaMishcha, which is the Sheman HaMishcha that Moshe Rabbeinu made that never got diminished, that was hidden by King Yoshio. After King Yoshio, when you appointed a new Kohen Gadol, the way he was inaugurated was by him simply wearing the Shemainim Begadim. And as we learned, ideally for 7 days. More than that. What happens, guys, halka, there's a Kohen Gadol that on Yom Kippur, let's say, became Tamei, if you remember these dinim. So they had this backup Kohen Gadol. The backup Kohen Gadol, after the original one becomes Tahar, is demoted, but he's not really demoted. He always has a din of a Kohen Gadol. Actually, if he dies, even though he was not doing the avodah, if he dies, that's Pshat the Kohen Gadol died. Even though the main Kohen Gadol didn't die, he's also a Kohen Gadol. The Echad Kohen Ha'oived, the Echad Kohen Sha'avar. Or any one of these four is the first one of them that dies. Shemeis, Machzer Esaretzeya, is amazing. Avol Meshuach Mulchama, which was also a unique Kohen, the one that was anointed to inspire the troops prior to battle. His death won't free, so to say, those murderers. The Pnei Shehu Kohen had halacha yud.
Why would someone want to live in this Iron city full of murderers?
First of all, the Levium had free rent. Okay, I think that we don't have to say anymore. Second of all, if Halavai, we should be Hasidim of the Rebbe. Let's understand, these people killed the Shoygeg. How are we educated to look at Yidden? I know not only murder, Machlal, a Yid that's Machal Shabbos and Freses Treif. We look at them with love. They're Shoygeg. They don't know. And what is our job? Not only not to judge them, but to be Makar of them. These people need Kiruv. Let's not to imagine it for ourselves. Someone killed the Shoygeg. A guy's walking only, he was going down the ladder. And look at what God did to him. And God used him to take out someone else's life. It's a very painful thing. Many people I suffer from this. I have not my age, but many years ago, there was a Bacher, a Khan Bacher that got killed. Khan Guy Yisrael. There was a terrible car accident. It's terrible. And a van went to him and by a tree. The driver at Tzaddik, a Bacher at Tzaddik, he was Subrachim. He was what should you do with it? I think it's a mitzvah to move in there. Special shluchah moved in there. I don't know.
A person who did a b'shem can still can go to the basement in the shrine.
No.
Because if he's still by the border, they're protected.
No, he's not a kohen, and don't go there until you get there. Only b'shas avodah. No, you didn't do it. Okay, Elohim. Let's say this is the key point. When they paskin go into Golos, and at that time there wasn't any kohen gadol. Guys, there isn't a backup. There's one kohen. The kohen gadol passed away. Here's what happened. The kohen gadol passed away before the Gemar Din. When they paskin, Now, you know what it could be? It could be that 1 minute after the Gemar Din, they appointed a new Kohen Gadol. But at the Psak, you are going into Galus, there was no Kohen Gadol. This guy will never be allowed to leave there because there wasn't a Kohen Gadol to die on him. Or, I'll tell you better, if someone killed the Kohen Gadol, in other words, you killed the Kohen Gadol when there wasn't this Kohen Gadol Sha'avad. The Kohen Gadol Sha'harag, Kohen Gadol killed. Not only do they go into Galus in these unique cases, there's a Kohen Gadol that man slaughtered the heads. But if first they gave up Psak Din, you have to go into exile. When they gave you the Psak Din, Chevra Halkov, the Kohen Gadol was alive. The Kohen Gadol passed away prior to you going into Galus. Because there was such a Psak Din on you while there was a Kohen Gadol. Now the im acheloi nigmar dinoi meis Kohen Gadol umino Kohen Gadol acher tachla v'acher dinoi also. Who, as long as there was a Kohen Gadol by the Gemar Din, that Kohen Gadol's death will free you. They gave up Psak Din. And when they gave up Psak Din, Chevra, there was a Kohen Gadol. Then they discovered the Kohen Gadol was not allowed to be a Kohen Gadol. They discover later that this Kohen Gadol is a Ben Garusha, which makes him invalid Midoy Raisa. And even if they only discover that he's a Ben Chalutza is someone that biblically is allowed to be a Kohen Gadol. But you know what? We are rabbinic Jews. So that means that the Chachamim said he's not allowed to do the Avodah. That means he can't be the Kohen Gadol. It chaps that now we discovered retroactively that he's not a Kohen. So now this is someone that Nigmar Dina without a Kohen Gadol. And as we just learned, if Nigmar Dina without a Kohen Gadol, Eino Yoitz Misham La'olam Givaldik Halacha Yud Gimel. Let's say Achshav Le'iroi Achnemeis Kohen Gadol, if he went there or whatever, there was a Kohen Gadol. Now that this thing is over, he goes back home. Harehu Kishar Kol Adam. And therefore, ve'im haroga goyel adam neragolov shekfar nischaper le'begalusay. It's almost sad. In other words, we see that Golus, we're in Golus for almost 2,000 years. See, there's a certain moment where we can say, the Rebbe said that we're that's it, nischaper. The Rebbe says, Ganuk.
Go home.
No, the Rebbe felt that Golus is over. Golus has to be over. It should be over. Whatever it needed to do, it did it. Halacha Yudal. Now, even though you have full atonement, one thing cannot happen. That if this person had any position of authority, doesn't matter in what, that position of authority he may not reclaim. And now the final halacha tezvav says the Rambam. Chayvel means he drew a blood from father or mother, God forbid. And you know what? That's the whole unique thing about a father and a mother. You're chayiv misas bezdin, just like if you kill another yid, you're chayiv misas bezdin. If you only wound a parent, b'mezid, you're chayiv misa. Now, when you kill a person b'mezid, chayiv misa. And Hashem says, if you kill a person b'shoigig, however we define that shoigig, you're going to goes. So a person can erroneously think, what happens if I injure a father b'shoigig? There's no goals for that. Im chaval ba'avav be'ima bishgaga ein chayiv golos. Shaloi chiva ha'toira golos ella lahoidik nefesh adam bishgaga bilvad, as we learned, and not ever for Kabbalah, even for a Kabbalah that is